This campsite was the last place Cleo Smith was seen wearing her matching pink onesie.
What's your name? What's your name, sweetheart?
My name is Cleo.
Australian police call it the miracle they were hoping for. The pre-dawn rescue of 4-year-old Cleo Smith, found safe and sound 18 days after she first went missing.
Natalie, it's hard to believe, but it's coming up to 1 year since a little 4-year-old girl from Australia made international headlines after she was found having been abducted from a family camping trip. I mean, it was one of those amazing stories that was almost too unbelievable, but equally unbelievable when they actually found her. And now, 1 year on, 12 months on, we're going to find out perhaps exactly what happened.
Yeah, it does seem incredible that it's a year ago that she was found. I think everybody will remember that moment when it was announced that she had been found safe and well and alive.
I've got you, Bobby.
What's your name?
You're alright.
What's your name? What's your name, sweetheart?
My name is Cleo.
Your name
You're
is
alright,
Cleo.
Bobby.
Hello, Cleo.
Most of us did not believe that she was going to be found in that state.
18 days. 18 days with no sign.
Is remarkable. I don't think we've ever had a child abduction before that where they've had such a positive outcome. And for 18 days, the public, the police, her parents were completely transfixed by this story. It seemed incredible that somebody would come into a campsite like the Quobba Blowholes and take a child without anyone seeing it and without anyone really knowing what had happened. The Quobba Blowholes are very remote. I'm from WA, so I know what it's like. It's about a 10-hour hard drive from Perth, and it was an hour's drive, I think, from where the family lived in Carnarvon, which is a banana plantation town on the coast.
Now, when she went missing, I guess it was a very much a police tactic to keep her image and her story, I guess, at the forefront of the public's mind. I mean, there were daily press conferences. Some days there were 2 press conferences a day to keep it in the media spotlights. I mean, that was a conscious effort, wasn't it?
It was, and I think it really worked. You can say that this is probably a textbook case of where police did absolutely everything right. They did keep her image out there with the public, so did her parents. Her mum was quite prolific on social media, putting up pictures of her so that people would recognise her if they did come across seeing her. It did start, the police started with a search of the area, which is quite rugged, looking for her in the hope that maybe she'd wandered off and they would find her.
And there was dozens of sightings, wasn't there? There was dozens and dozens of false leads that were coming into the WA police. I mean, it must have been extraordinary to sort of have to chase each angle individually to get to the truth. And then suddenly, 18 days later, that famous quote.
That's right, yeah. I think chasing down the leads was something that was very difficult. There was a lot of different angles that they had to eliminate first, I guess, before they started to think, well, maybe this is a child abduction. Because it was such an unusual event to sneak into a tent where her parents were sleeping just a metre from her, amid other tents and other people, and take off with her without anyone noticing. It seemed extraordinary, and I know a lot of people just thought this can't be real, it can't be plausible, but it certainly was, and that's exactly what happened.
And it wasn't like she was found down the road either. I mean, she was found 2 hours drive away.
Yes, well, she was found in the town of Carnarvon, which is where she and her parents lived, and the house where she was found was literally a 5-minute drive from theirs. So I think that too was a bit creepy for everybody in Carnarvon. Her abductor, Terence Kelly, who's actually pleaded guilty to this crime, was holding her in a house not 5 minutes' drive from her parents. Yet nobody knew that, not even the neighbours suspected that there was anything going on.
Now, what about that quote from Cleo when the police officer said, "What's your name, sweetheart?" And she said, "My name is Cleo." I mean, that vision and that quote, that went round the world.
It did, and I think everybody had a tear in their eye. I think I'm going to have a tear in my eye now, just thinking about it. What a happy, happy moment that was. And it does seem incredible that this little girl just was carried out of there by police and, you know, in in that one moment, 18 days of anguish was gone.
So, I mean, what we know now, 1 year on, is that she disappeared on that October 16 night. 18 days, no sign of her, nothing was heard of her. Then she was found this 2-hour drive away, ironically close to her home. That's all we know. We really don't know what happened to her in that time, and I guess that's been a conscious effort by not only her family but authorities as well.
Yeah, I think it has been a conscious effort because although Terence Kelly has pleaded guilty, he hasn't been sentenced yet. What the police did tell the family was that it was an opportunistic crime, that he wasn't stalking them, that they're aware of, and he was almost, I think, unaware of them as a family that lived in the same town as him. But he had been prowling in that camping area that night. He'd seen a little girl's bicycle out the front of the tent, and he'd just taken that moment to unzip the tent and have a look inside.
Do you reckon he would have seen her earlier, back in Carnarvon, because they did live so closely together? Would he have seen her walking on the street, do you reckon?
It's possible. The police did say that they didn't think he was aware of her or knew them, but it is possible that they did cross paths in Carnarvon at some stage.
And perhaps not so much of a coincidence, but from the very little we do know about Terence Darryl Kelly, he was a collector of dolls, these sort of, I won't say life-size because they're about that big, but he collected Bratz dolls, didn't he? And they had the same big eyes as Cleo, and he collected them from the local toy shop and simply said they were for his family. And he was buying them over and over again, different sort of dolls and different poses. He didn't have a family, and in fact, when the police went to his house, they found those dolls, some still unwrapped in their boxes.
Yeah, it was a very bizarre twist to this story, and I don't think anyone saw this coming. He also had fake social media pages where he was talking about having this family, children, a wife and children, and a life in Sydney of all places. You know, a long way from Carnarvon. It just added this quirky, weird, sort of unexplained angle to this mystery.
And we've not really heard from him. We've heard from his family, obviously, and there appears to be a bit of a schism there, in that some support him, some are sort of a bit more indifferent. I guess now, come December, we're finally going to perhaps hear from him, albeit perhaps in a police statement. We're going to find out not only what happened in those days, but what it's all about. Like, why did he do it? I've not heard that there was any sort of mental illness or prognosis there at all.
No, we haven't heard anything about his motivations. And certainly when he's sentenced, the sentencing is set down for 2 days. So that means we're going to hear a lot of evidence from the police. They'll read the statement of facts as they know it, and that'll be based on lots of interviews that they've done with him, asking him about the crime, why he did it, what he did afterwards. All the different details, I think, may come out about those 18 days because we did see that Cleo had different coloured hair. Her hair had been dyed. She had different clothes on. Where did he get those things from? There has been a suggestion that someone else might have helped him, but the police seem to have ruled that out, that it was just Terence Kelly that carried out this crime. But we certainly will hopefully find out what his motivations were and what he told police his side of the story was. And
12 months on, Cleo's very much, I guess, just like a normal kid again, going to school, perhaps guarded a lot more by her family. Obviously, natural that protection level, but her parents have very much actively sought to normalise her life now. I guess there's possibly some trauma there, but they're dealing with that in their own way.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I guess it's difficult to try and come back to normal because I did see that Cleo was really enjoying the media attention and perhaps not understanding it because she was saying to her mum afterwards, you know, all these people being really nice to me, everyone says hello to me, sort of everyone's recognising me.
And of course, remember when she drove into town, the townsfolk came out and they had balloons and pictures and posters, and she actually commented about that, didn't she?
She said,
"Oh, there's my face. There's my poster. What's it all about outside the school?" Yeah.
So it is difficult, perhaps, to get back to complete normal, but I'm sure that her parents have involved child psychologists and things to get advice on what's the best thing to do. But we can just hope that her life has returned to normal and that she'll continue developing like any other normal child.
An extraordinary story, and 12 months on, we may get to the bottom of it all.
Yeah, we hope so. And funnily enough, the Department of Public Housing in WA is preparing the house where she was held to be rented out to a new family. So there's another chapter there as well.